Although what seems like the majority of you who watch these videos tend to forget, football is indeed a team game. And more often than you realize, can teams without too many, if any, star names can get together, do the jobs assigned to them, and strive towards and ultimately achieve collective success. In other words, Leicester City 2015 to 2022. On the other hand, again, more often than you realize, there have been sides with an abundant amount of big names with great individual ability who haven't made the best of teams due to a lack of balance and in turn, chemistry. Or in other words, Real Madrid from 2003 to 2015. On the third hand, and this is probably almost as rare as having a third hand, are instances where a coach acquired a core of competitors who concurrently combine cream of the crop congenital capabilities with chemistry, cohesion and character that complements each comrade in the camp. Or in other words, Manchester United from 1995 to 2003, or in other words, Barcelona from 2008 to 2015. Now, as usual, bear in mind that this list will only consist of entries from number 1, top teams from the very top level, and number 2, and I'm pretty sure you've also heard this before, the entries will only be from 2004 and onwards. Also remember please, there's a difference between having no footballing chemistry and not getting along. For example, these guys didn't get along but had good chemistry. These guys got along fine but had limited chemistry, but admittedly did have enough to get by and, well, avoid this list. Though I can't say the same for this upcoming bunch, as these are 7 teammates who had no chemistry. Let's roll on. Number 7, Bruno Fernandes and Cristiano Ronaldo. One of the only 2 pairs on this list who are still playing together as we speak. Why? Because no lie, this is probably the most straightforward pair as far as working out why they don't function together. Bruno Fernandes as a creator works best when he has pacey wide players who'd run after his ambitious and often outrageous passes. Cristiano Ronaldo at this stage of his career just isn't that guy anymore. Like, don't get me wrong, Bruno and a 2005 version of CR7 would have been a deadly combo, but nowadays they usually go something like this. Bruno gets the ball, eyes Ronaldo, hoops it up for him to chase. Ronaldo stops, gives him a look of, you know I'm old enough to send you to your room, right? Bruno makes a, please don't face in return, and rinse repeat. And then what makes this even worse is, Bruno still seems like a fan at heart. And let's be real, many times tries to force it to his idol when the situation far from calls for it. And look, to be fair to Roberto Martinez, he has improved the situation a little bit by giving Bruno more of an advanced role in the Portuguese setup. But when the Moni Mank does play in his more natural position, even now 8 years and 2 teams later, it just doesn't work. Number 6, Andrei Shevchenko and Didier Drogba. Right, so this is a little more tricky, because if you just simply look at the profile of players Shevchenko and Drogba were, a quick, energetic and prolific goal scorer and a giant physical target man, you'd think they'd be like peanut butter and jelly apparently, or some other shit that goes well together. I've never actually had peanut butter and jelly together, believe it or not, and I'm not gonna lie, that combo does sound a little strange to me. Though it probably doesn't sound strange to this bloke, just like this transfer didn't sound strange to this bloke. Cause yes, Andrei Shevchenko was an owner's purchase, and far from a manager's purchase, and far from this manager's purchase. Because as I said, hypothetically, these guys can work really well together. But you see, the problem here was, Shevchenko had just spent the last few years playing under the tactically flexible and free-spirited Carlo Ancelotti, where, usually playing in the front two, he had the freedom to roam around, drift wide and make runs from different positions. This does not fly under Jose. Like, bro, this is the same manager who made Ronaldo track back. Sheva didn't have a prayer. It's not a surprise that Jose was against buying him from the beginning. And at the fact that Chelsea have been playing with a lone frontman for the past few years, what you have is a situation that can be summed up using one word. Wrong. Wrong player, wrong team, wrong setup, wrong time, and best fucking believe, wrong manager. Wrongen. Number 5, Gareth Bale and James Rodriguez. Right, so I've already explained why James wasn't the best fit for Real in previous videos, but basically what it boils down to is how different his game was to the man he replaced in Angel Di Maria. When Di Maria would charge forward from midfield, he'd usually take the ball out wide, giving the wide forwards the invitation to tuck in and get in the mix. In contrast, when James joined the attacks, he'd almost exclusively take up central positions, usually at the edge of the box, probably for a potential volley. Like, you know, this one. Bro, talk about pull power. These men probably don't even have a scouting setup. I mean, why would you when you can just watch the World Cup and pick your favorite? But yeah, anyways, when it comes to James picking up central position in attacks, well, for Modric, it was no problem. He can just sit back and cover. For Kroos, it was no problem. He can sit further back and cover. For Benzema, it was no problem. He can just make a dummy run and take a defender out. And for Ronaldo, there better not have been a problem. Or you know, everyone dies. So that left one man to be the sacrificial lamb. And in the space of Di Maria's unselfish runs giving him the license to drift in, Gareth Bale for a lot of his second season at Real Madrid was left frustrated as he was often stuck out wide himself with very little genuine chance of getting involved in the game. This either resulted in him going anonymous in games or at times letting his frustrations getting the best of him and drifting inside uninvited, which actually led to him and James physically getting in each other's way a couple of times. Yeah, this was a mess. Casemiro's return was a godsend, man. Number 4, Mohamed Salah and Darwin Nunez. So back when I was analysing Al Nassr games in the Saudi Pro League, boy was that a hoot. Whenever I saw Anderson Talisca line up alongside Ronaldo, I kept repeating that this won't work because Talisca does not possess the instincts of a provider. Now this doesn't mean he's a bad player, this doesn't mean he's a selfish player. On purpose. But his natural game, the game he's been playing for the majority of his career, if not life, is not that of someone who eyes a teammate at first thought. And this, in my opinion, is the biggest problem with this duo. Ever since Salah became one of the best players in the world, he always played his best stuff when he was alongside teammates who'd look for him as a priority. He's even gotten into arguments with Sadio Mane over this stuff. And after spending years working alongside the unselfish and creative workhorse in Roberto Firmino, Darwin Nunez, a goal scorer who likes to do things like play on the last shoulder, at times start from the channels, as well as look for a clean strike at almost every opportunity, just wasn't a natural swap as far as Salah was concerned. And as I said, it's not that players like Darwin are purposefully selfish, and when instructed to, they will be willing to change their game. But what happens when he does try to fight his instincts? He hesitates a lot more, makes significantly more mistakes, and loses significant amounts of confidence. And that, as you know, has been a major issue for him since he joined Liverpool. The good news for Salah, seems like he doesn't need to worry about this all that much under Arne Slot. So, Merry Christmas. Number 3, Diego Costa and the entire great Spanish side. Yeah, sorry, I had to include this again. See this video at 1 minute and 25 seconds. And before I do move on, there's just one more thing that's bugging me. This guy here was younger than I was here. Yeah? Nah, I ain't paying that, bro. Clearly he got his passport from Ronaldinho. Number 2, Sergio Aguero and Lionel Messi. Okay, first off, if you were expecting Messi and Higuain instead of this one, well, I think you got this a little mixed up. You see, the understanding between these guys wasn't actually all that bad. It was just more of the case of, well, Higuain being a bit shit at times for Argentina for some reason. With Aguero though, the lack of chemistry was a lot more evident. And look, with the other international entries on this list, you can kinda excuse it because they hadn't played together all too often. But bro, Messi and Aguero have been playing together since they were children, and even at the professional level they played together almost a 3-figure amount of times, yet it never really clicked. And if I were to venture a guess why, well, not sure how a certain group of you will take this, but it's cause Aguero's game was selfish in nature. And this is the kind of mistake you Messi fanboys make. You see, because Leo is a lot more willing to set his teammates up and doesn't throw a bitch fit every time he doesn't get the ball, unlike some people, they think he can play with anyone, including selfish players. He can't. Messi also works almost exclusively well with unselfish players. And by unselfish in this instance, I don't just mean those who pass instead of shoot, by the way. It's not always that simple. But instead, it's forward players who are willing to deviate from their natural game, i.e. not make their usual runs and follow the same patterns of movement and all that, and instead pattern their movement for Leo's style of playmaking, which, as I keep saying, is pretty limited. As well as track back and do defensive work, of course. Yeah, he ain't ever been in that shit. Someone like Higuain, for example, he was willing to, and as a result of doing it week in week out for Ronaldo at Real, ready to play second fiddle to Messi for Argentina. And while Aguero may have been willing, as far as having the capacity of altering his natural game, ready, he most certainly was not. Number 1, Gerrard and Lampard. If you don't know, then fuck you, do your research. I ain't going into this again. I ain't putting myself through this again. But just know that they're clearly number 1, and if I'm honest, there isn't really much competition. Just Trust me on that. Sake. And that is that. Agree or disagree beats indifference. So what do you think of this list? Are there any other teammates from great teams that had bad chemistry that I've missed out? Let me know in the comments below. And as usual, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Till next time, you keep rolling.